Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watch One. Thanks for logging on. You're going to have to allow me to take a breath for this one. You're looking at the Hublot Big Bang Unico Retrograde Chronograph UEFA Euro 2016 and UEFA Champions League limited edition of 100 pieces. You can see this watch as big as its name on our website, watchyouwant.com. Purchase it there, and if you enjoy these videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Watch You Want Inc. You can also click on the card in the upper right-hand corner of the screen at any time to see our full listing for this watch with its unique commemorative accessory set, high-resolution images, and naturally complete pricing information. Now on my wrist, 6 1/3 inches, 16 centimeters in circumference. This is a watch that lives up to that immense moniker. Now, on my wrist, I can tell you that the watch feels thick, it feels broad, but it does not feel excessively heavy. Now, 45 millimeters across the round of the case, it's a cushion profile, so there really is no such diagonal. The watch wears larger than 45 millimeters, and a big part of that is the thickness of it. 17 millimeters from the very top to the very bottom. You can also see that the case flanks cantilever outward a bit, so it will easily get hung up on any kind of sleeve or cuff, even a fairly wide one. The bottom line is that the watch is also immense from lug to lug. 57.5 millimeters from lug to lug means that no matter how large your wrist, this watch will never look traditionally proportioned. It's always going to have that big, brash, exuberant Hublot profile. So if you like the oversized watch look, I do have to say that ergonomically, this one's willing to meet your wrist halfway. And here's the reason for that. You can see the ceramic case has sharply downturned lugs as they abut the strap itself. Now, before we even see the end of the case has started to curve around the wrist, and you can see that with the downward thrusting angle at each side, it does sort of wrap itself around the wrist, keeping it secure. Now, the other thing that helps is that the entire composition of the case is lightweight materials, ceramic, titanium. The inner case is titanium. Blue resin inserts on the flanks and acting as the bezel gasket. Now you can also see that the strap itself is mostly vulcanized blue rubber with crocodile, or I should say alligator leather inserts in a beautiful blue with contrasting stitch. Hublot does rubber straps beautifully. They have since their inception in 1980. Now their original product was a gold watch with a rubber strap. But today, the materials fusion, as Hublot likes to call it, continues with ceramic, titanium, and the combination of alligator and natural vulcanized rubber. Now you can see from both angles, directly overhead and in profile, it tapers nicely so that there's a very progressive transition from the swell of the strap to the flank of the case. It looks all of a piece from overhead. The nice thing about the strap, though, is it is incredibly soft underneath. Now it's a beautiful French blue. In fact, blue is the dominant color of this special edition, as France will be the host nation for the titular event. There are also gorgeous white and red elements to complete the tricolor, but the blue dominates. The leather, the rubber, the flanking inserts, and the dial. Now you can see the contrasting stitches of superb quality, and Hublot happily continues the contrasting stitch on the underside. It adds to the visual impact of the watch, and again, it's just a refinement. As big and brash as this watch is, that proves every detail has been considered. It's not simply the shock value of the case alone. Now the clasp is a superb piece. Made of titanium, it's a single fold deployant. What it has is a minderless system, so any excess strap, for instance, if the watch is sized for my small wrist, is actually hidden underneath the clasp. So it looks very clean when closed. You don't have the loop-style minders, and you don't have excess strap flapping in the breeze as you're rooting for your favorite team. Now the watch does feature a twin-trigger deployant, so this isn't a friction-fit clasp. It's a big sports watch that needs a very secure fit, so you need positive disengagement, both triggers, to open this clasp. You can see there's also a handsome ceramic insert with the Hublot marquee. Now, the lugs of the watch feature Hublot's now classic car seat buckle release system. So simply by pressing that buckle at center, you can easily dislodge the strap should you want to fit, for instance, textile or full rubber to take this watch in the water. And it is 100-meter water resistant, so it's nice to have that option. Again, strap swaps could not be easier. Moving inboard, you can see that the case itself is a combination of brushed and polished ceramic. Gorgeous, with a gorgeous contrast. There's a nice blend of matte glow and bright polished gleaming. Moving inboard, you can see the signature titanium Hublot H-pattern bezel bolts and a dial that's much like previous Hublot football-inspired retrograde chronographs, but again, this one is just a little bit more tailored to the French theme of Euro 2016. Now you can see the tricolor. The dominant color is blue, but you can also see at an angle just how much depth and texturing there is to this dial. There's a tremendous amount you can see from actual pivot jewels of the movement located just below the period counter at 12 o'clock to that gorgeous retrograde scale. And every 60 seconds, you get the pleasure of watching that retrograde jump back as retrograding minutes and seconds progress. Now, the idea is that you use the watch to trace 2 periods of 45 minutes during regulation play, plus an additional 15 minutes of overtime. Now, it's very practical as a conventional chronograph in as much as frequently, all people really need is about 30 minutes of chronograph runtime plus a seconds scale. And if you have up to 30 minutes, never mind 60, on the chronograph scale plus a seconds gauge, you're probably never going to use hours and hours of elapsed time. The bottom line being, these are the 2 most useful chronograph displays, and you have them, plus an interesting retrograde feature on this special edition. You also have a flyback function, so it does retain that underlying flyback capability of the base Unico caliber. What it also has is a separate local time scale down at 6 o'clock, complemented by a football-style seconds scale at 9 o'clock. Now, it is constant seconds, so even if the watch does not have the chronograph running, you can have that constant seconds scale to remind you that it's working. Now, this is a in-house caliber by Hublot. It is one of the Unico variants, 44 joules. The movement we're looking at is actually called the 1261, 3-day power reserve by retrograde flyback. It has a silicon escape wheel and a silicon pallet, so it contains high-end materials technology in addition to the ceramic rotor bearings that complements the materials fusion theme of the case itself. Essentially, you have working materials inside the case and luxurious high-tech materials on the outside. You can see this unique limited edition of 100 pieces and take it home to root for your favorite team in 2016 on our website, watchyouwant.com.